Joe, the Orange Bowl, Notre Dame and Penn State. Notre Dame coming off a very impressive win versus Georgia. Penn State coming off a win against Boise State. Your thoughts going into the game as we wrap up here with Boise and with Penn State and Notre Dame.
Knowing what we just saw, I think paints a really good picture for how Notre Dame beats Penn State. Going up against a team that has weaker receiver talent than what Georgia has, Notre Dame is going to be able to win on the outside against those receivers one-on-one. They're going to be able to load the box. They're going to be able to send pressure on Drew Allar, Xavier Watts, Adon Schuler. They're going to be able to do what they've done all year long, which is create turnovers at that safety position. I just think that Notre Dame's defense, that this is another really good spot for them. This of the remaining teams, this is a really, really good spot for them to take advantage of a really underperforming receiving group for Penn State. Now, where I draw some pause and where Notre Dame can have their own problems, there's a lot of similarities that could be devised from what we can talk about here for how good Notre Dame's defense is. Penn State's defense is also really fundamentally sound and also built from their front seven and has some really gifted players up front. And they're going to do a really tough physical job of trying to slow down Notre Dame's rushing attack. This is also going to be a low-scoring game. It's going to come down to what we just saw happen against Georgia for Notre Dame to win. They need to get a short field. They need to get a special teams play. They need to get 2+ turnovers. That's how they win. And they need Riley Leonard to be an impactful playmaker as a runner. That, to me, is what gives Notre Dame the edge in this, knowing that I think that their offense, if they play to their identity and they don't try to escape that too much like they did in the first half against Georgia, that they should be able to win a close game against Penn State.
I think this is so evenly matched, man. I really do. It's evenly matched in the sense of that I feel like at times and moments I've seen an offense that has sputtered in moments, can't convert in the red zone, or has situations or issues. I also see a team, both teams really, that have really good defenses. I see two head coaches that have caught criticism in big game situations until they started winning some or being competitive more in some of these big games. And Marcus is just coming off of a massive win. You called it the biggest win in Notre Dame in 30 years earlier. Joe, this is going to come down to game plan. I just think you're too evenly matched. I don't know which way to go here. I would feel a little bit more confident leaning Notre Dame here for a couple of reasons. Number one, I feel like defensively they are better than Penn State and that defense will find a way to get you over the hump. The issue I have is look, you had a team the last game that you played that could barely get past the 50. And you couldn't score more than one touchdown that the defense provided you inside the 20-yard line. Mm-hmm. Let's not make it. Let's talk about this. So, Joe, basically, you're kicking all these field goals because once you get into the red zone, you can't convert. So, you did that against Indiana. You did that against Georgia. Both teams offensively were compromised in one way or another. Can you do that to Penn State is a question that I have. They more than easily can do it and prove me wrong that you can be better in the red zone. I think the red zone issues for me are a concern that you got to be able to run. I love Mike. Mike gets a little too pass happy in the red zone. He really does. Whatever's getting you there, continue to do it. I just think they're too evenly matched. I don't know where to go here. I do think you're right on one thing. You have a bad receiving core in Penn State. Joe, not only are they going to win, they might dominate that.
Right. So, I look at this situation, the separation point is, look, Drew Allar is a better quarterback prospect than Riley Leonard, and they are very evenly matched. I see
definitely
the battle
under Stockton. That's for sure.
I see the battle that's going to be coming out here, though, on both ends, is that Drew Allar is going to be seeing a lot of one-on-one coverage, but he's going to be seeing a ton of pressure. How does he handle that pressure? Does he throw an interception? Does he take a bad hit and a fumble or something along those lines? And the other side of that is, Riley Leonard, for how unexciting his 90 passing yards were. I feel like I still at least see some times where he knows how to be a runner to escape that pressure and how to get away from a team that is just daring him to beat them through the air. That's what he did. He, despite Georgia trying to say like, hey man, you got to just try and pick us apart as a guy. God, I'm running out of steam here. As a guy who's throwing the ball, you have to. I was up till 4 a.m. last night. I'm about to be up till 4 a.m. tonight for my other job. All I'm saying is that Riley Leonard has the play style, I think, to survive a matchup like this, where Drew Allar, as good as he is and he can be, and is probably going to go on to be a first-round pick, just isn't there yet from a decision-making standpoint.
This could be a big game for Tyler Warren then. If you got to get the ball out quickly, big body tight end,
yeah,
I don't know if you don't target him 10 to 12 times. I don't know if you don't give him 12 touches. I mean, Ausberry, I think, covered well against the tight ends today, and the others. Xavier Whites was on man-to-man coverage with Delp, and a lot of those guys, they went man-free the entire night, Joe. I mean, they dared Gunnar Stockton, as we talked about this in their last game, to throw the football, and he did some good things. I just don't know. I feel like I have more confidence in Drew Allar right now, a kid that's going into what is close to 30th start here, versus a kid that's making his first start. Right? Like I feel like some of those things that
obviously,
right, that you got away with today against Gunnar Stockton, I don't know if you get away with.
But the difference, though, and I get what you're saying, Georgia's receivers are way more talented than Penn State's. That was what gave him the early spark, is that, like, you know, Dylan Bell and Arian Smith, like, those are great athletes.
5 drops today.
I know that they did, but like their biggest
I don't know
plays
how far separation it is. I got to be Joe.
No. Wait, but you're misunderstanding what I'm saying here. Yes, they had bad drops, but Penn State just straight up doesn't have the guys on the outside that can like even win in those contested spots. Georgia was unforced errors.
Well, that's for sure. But I also don't think that Georgia has a Tyler Warren either, and I don't think they have that running back core and offensive line that can get push. So I mean, there are counteractions to this. I get what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. Look, man, pick the team that you think's going to win and say flip a coin. I really do believe that. I think it's an evenly matched game. Now, the question's going to be two. Did you feel like Georgia ran out of steam defensively there at the end?
Yeah,
like
they were on the field a lot.
They were on the field a lot. Man, I think that you're just facing a more balanced team, a team that will be ready for you a little bit more.
Okay.
Penn State with Drew Allar is more balanced than what Gunnar Stockton and them showed us today.
Sure. I don't completely disagree with that. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and defend and say that, like, Drew Allar is a two-year starter is obviously better than Gunnar Stockton.
Joe, I mean, that game's different with Carson Beck. I mean, the kid was missing a lot of stuff all night.
Yeah.
And he didn't get any help.
Well, no, actually, I disagree with that. I think that regardless if Carson Beck plays, they would have still beaten him because Carson Beck doesn't escape the pocket.
Fair.
They wouldn't have had to spy at all.
Yeah, but he would have thrown 3 picks, and he still would have found a way to score 30 points.
Right.
All right. So we'll continue to preview these games. I got to get to these 3. JP says, down goes the SEC. What happened, Blake? Irish or win? Y'all aren't even in a conference, and you're talking about conference?
Yeah, we made the right decision not being in a conference. Did you see that Notre Dame made more money by not being in a conference than if they had to share with the Big Ten or the SEC? I don't know. I'm just saying.
The counteract to that is, in fairness, when teams are playing ranked opponents, you got to play Army and Navy.
Okay, again, we've been over this. Notre Dame typically aggressively schedules competitive schedules.
That's fair. That doesn't matter.
This was an unexpected year.
It doesn't matter. The reality of it is that the perception is perceived that when, hey, I'm going on the road to Texas A&M, or hey, what y'all did, okay, or that's probably a bad. Hey, I'm going on the road to Bryant-Denny. Hey, I'm going on the road to Happy Valley. It's a difference of going to those situations versus playing Army and Navy. And you know that.
I don't disagree with that.
Okay. Georgia Tech and the Georgia Dome. They won't even let them play